Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about the hunt for the Decepticons! And I'm joined today by the Autobot Scout, Hubcap, and his absolutely gorgeous old-timey vehicle mode. What can I say? I'm not a car person, but these kind of old-timey hot rod-looking cars, with all their little exposed engine valves and things, and their big grills and their curves, oh, they get me going sometimes, especially in Transformers where they're a little bit rare outside of the laser rods. And thank goodness, check it out, he's got silver paint even on the hubcaps. This makes him so much more gorgeous. I mean, it's offset by the fact that all this red is completely unpainted, but who cares? The silver is way more important in my opinion, and especially having it on the hubcaps really adds to the overall aesthetic of this vehicle mode, which, by the way, has wheels and rolls. Hey, maybe it could have had clear windshields. Hey, that's a whole can of worms I can open up. Hey, I bet you that would have made him cost more. Hey, I don't really care. Anyway, let's transform him!
Astonishingly simple, but with results that are anything but unimpressive. This is one of the simplest Scout transformations in recent memory that accomplishes such a dynamic and characterful robot mode, without it immediately looking as though it has the uncomplicated sequence that takes us there. My only gripe is that I wish the leg panels and feet had places to solidly lock in. Nonetheless, color me impressed.
Hubcap and Brimstone heralded our first look at Scouts for the new Yellow Package 2010 Transformers, and let me tell you, there couldn't be two guys with more starkly contrasted aesthetics than these two. Hubcap has a lot of very classic robot-y elements to him. There's very little movie-ish about this guy, all things considered. I mean, he's got a hood chest, he looks like a Transformer who could exist in nearly any given generation. The car parts flow down his body kind of like graceful armor, but he does have something kind of odd, because it looks like he shops at the Gundam shoe store. These are totally Gundam boots, and it's a really cool aesthetic choice. Unfortunately, it causes some problems that I'll talk about in a sec. I do want to also show you that from the back, this guy pulls off a kind of alternity Starscream and Skywarp deal of looking like a beautiful flowing cascade of car parts draped on one another. He does have some of the Gundam gray showing up here on his limbs, but screw it, the rest of him looks so dynamic I can really get behind this guy. Unfortunately, his posability is so excellent that it makes one little thing quite a downer. Now, there's a little bit of difficulty up here in the noggin. He's got a small head, and it's actually a little bit difficult to get your fingers around it to get it moving. It's got a decent range of motion, but something about it doesn't feel very smooth. It's a little bit rough on the ball, at least on mine. What's interesting, though, is that this guy's shoulders and hips are not ball joints, they're actually multi-swivel universal joints, which is really cool to see on a Scout. His knees, though, have this one little thing where they're just high enough to kind of not accomplish much, and that's a bit unfortunate. His shoulders, though, are joined by some very decent ball-jointed elbow action, and there's a really great range of movement in there. Unfortunately, no waist joint. Now here's where the problem starts. This guy's Gundam boots, they look really cool, but they completely screw with his ability to stand straight and solidly, because they're so strangely formed that he can never really get a flat-footed stance unless he's standing completely stock still, and that's boring as all heck. And it's unfortunate. If this guy had an ankle tilt left and right, this would be a remarkable 11 out of 10 little Scout. As it is, he's still like 8 or 9 out of 10, but it really is annoying how you are so used to, at this point, having toys where you can really kind of just place them down and they stand still. He kind of does it, but he always has a bit of wobble due to the roundness of this boot design. He has one other little thing, which is that I love how these things kind of drape themselves down in this really cool tilted fashion, but they don't lock in place anywhere. So while you're trying to mess around with this guy and deal with his non-locking ankle swivel here, so that, you know, his foot's always coming up like this, you're like, alright, I got him all in place, and oh crap, now he's got this thing hanging down here. So I wish that between these three components something would lock in place. On the bright side, though, if you do pull those drapes down a little bit, it helps him stabilize just a little bit more. They're kind of like fakey heel spur deals. That's not to say that he sucks, though. This is an amazing little Transformer for the price point, and he and Brimstone are kind of taking the game up yet another level in terms of the quote-unquote movie scout lineup. And as one of those quote-unquote movie scout lineup dudes, this guy can take part in the 3mm weapon clip system! Now let's say he's walking down the street and oh hey, here's Brimstone, and oh hey, Brimstone has axes clipped on his shoulders. That makes him taller and more of an alpha. So what can Hubcap do to rectify this? Well, he's just got to go by the Recon Ironhide weapons shop. And for starters, you know, he can just stick some big-ass knives onto his arms, and that will get him going on the People with Sharp Stuff club, and he can slash around and be all, I've got blades on my arms, I'm totally Baraka, but, like, good. If you really want to have fun with the clip system, you know, melee weapons are cool, but where it's at is big-ass guns. And this is where the clip system, in my opinion, really shines, because now you've got these scouts, and if you have the proper toys to go with them, suddenly your scouts are heavily armed. And you look at these two, and, you know, here's Brimstone, oh hey, I got axes on my shoulders. Here's Hubcap, guess what? I've got enough guns to shoot you, shoot the people behind you, knock over the house that's behind them, and then get a whole lot of chicks, because chicks think huge guns are awesome. I learned it from a movie. Well, that's how I learned where babies come from. Anyway, this clip system really enhances the play value of the scouts, and I also just love having these characterful little dudes and then being able to stick these enormous, crazy-ass guns on them, and then being able to take things just one step further and sticking bayonets on the end, too. This can get kind of delightful. So, at the end of the day, Hubcap is a solid scout aesthetically. He's got a lot of little niggling problems from the waist down, mostly a somewhat limited in scope knee joint, and this really unfortunate thing with his really cool boot design that lacks some practicality. But, you know, you clip a couple of weapons on him and suddenly you forget about all those problems. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus here with a review of Hubcap and the giant guns I've stuck onto him. I hope it was helpful to you in some way, and as I said, if you know of any other 3mm weapon clip system points on him, let me know. I couldn't find any, but they might be on there. And I mean ones that properly work, not like, hey, I dremeled a hole through his chest and I could stuff a gun in there. Although if you do that, you know, make a video of it at least. Auf Wiedersehen!